welcome back to my channel. We are continuing our teacher interview questions and answers series. Today we are moving on to question number 4. Question number 4 is, if I were to walk into your classroom while you were teaching, what would I see? So this question actually has a lot of sides to it, and there's a lot that you can say in here that will touch on different points of things that they want to hear. So the first thing you want to talk about is your board, your whiteboard. Do you have your standard written on the board, and do you have your objective written on the board? When I was going through the student credentialing program at my college, that was the biggest thing that they focused on, was when you were creating lesson plans, do you have a standard and do you have an objective? And not only in your lesson plan, but are those on your board? Did you write them on your whiteboard? Are they somewhere where your students can see them and where you can go over them? So that's something that you definitely want to say in this answer, is that, well, when you walk into my classroom, you're going to see that I have our standard and I have our objective on the board. You can see what we're doing for the day, our entire agenda for everything that we're doing, including our journal and our main lesson, are all up on there, so the students know exactly what we're doing and they are able to jump straight into their routines. The next thing you want to talk about is how your classroom is set up. Now, I know this doesn't sound like a really important thing, but the way your desks are set up and the way the students are able to interact with each other is going to be really important for this answer. Are all of your desks in rows facing the teacher? Are they in groups? Are they just tables where students are actually facing each other? What is your setup for student desks and student tables? A lot of teachers may have flexible seating, so you might want to mention that too, but this is actually going to be really important when it comes to giving the interviewers an idea of how your lessons are going to go. If you have all of your desks in one row, that probably means that you aren't doing a lot of group work and a lot of collaborative stuff in your classroom. So you want to make sure that you focus on that type of stuff. You don't want to tell them about your decorations or what theme you have unless they actually go with what you're learning. For me, I have posters in my classroom that have to do with our rules in the classroom, and I also have posters in the classroom that are actually references right up here. These posters are references that cover things that we go over in class. When you're talking about the different things in your classroom, one thing you do not want to mention, like I said, is how it's decorated. So if you do mention posters, just make sure that they are referenced back to whatever it is you're teaching, or just tell them that they actually are used for some of our lessons. For me, I have this over here on my whiteboard. Now normally you would think that that's for decoration, which kind of it is. However, it actually has figurative language in it, and that's why I put it up there, because I actually asked the students what type of figurative language that is, since it is in our decorations, but it also ties back to what we're learning and to our lessons. I personally wouldn't say that in an interview, but it is what I have in my classroom. Don't mention any of your decorations, don't mention your theme, don't mention how your desk is set up, just mention how the student desks are set up for collaboration. Something else that you can tell them is that as they look on your boards around the classroom, there's a lot of student work displayed. Maybe you have a star student bulletin board where all the students who get A's on their tests get to go on that little bulletin board as a sort of reward or an incentive for doing well on their tests. Sometimes teachers also like to put out lesson plans for anyone who walks in. So if I were to put something by the door, it would be a little clear plastic poly bag or something like that, and I would just put the lesson plans for the day in there. That way, if anyone were to walk into the classroom, they can pull that out and see exactly what we're doing step by step and look at the lesson plans. If someone were to walk in your classroom, you can actually be a little bit more specific with this question as to where you are in the classroom, where the students are, and overall just what you guys are doing. Are you guys on the floor doing something collaborative? Are kids in flexible seating? Are there different types of desks over here and different chairs over here that students can choose from? Would you say that all of your students are using technology in your classroom? So if someone were to walk in, are they on their Chromebooks? Are they filming videos? Are they editing videos? Do they have microphones in front of themselves creating podcasts? What would they see your students doing, and what are you doing as they walk inside your classroom? Are you just sitting at your desk? Don't say that. Don't say you're sitting at your desk, because as a teacher, you should not be sitting at your desk. Instead, tell them that you're walking around the classroom, or whatever it is you're doing. Walk around, monitor the students. If students need help, obviously you're going to be there next to them, helping them. Or maybe you're pointing to the board and showing them an example of something. Maybe you're on this little whiteboard and drawing out some little things for them to take notes on. Or maybe you're just giving little models for things. Tell them what they are going to see based on what the people are doing. What are you doing? What are the students doing? One of the most important things that people like to see when they walk into a classroom is student engagement. So let them know what you're doing. This question is your opportunity to give them a sneak peek into your classroom and into your lessons. So bring a little bit of that into the answer. If you guys focus on Kahoot and like competition games, maybe say that you guys are playing a game for review. Tell them how you're checking for understanding with the students. Tell them how your students are critically thinking to solve a problem and problem solve. Tell them how they're collaborating, how they're communicating, and how they're being creative. How are the students working together? In the end, you just want to make sure that they know everything in your classroom is there for a reason. My classroom is kind of wild. It's very rainbow, but I wouldn't tell them that because having a rainbow classroom has nothing to do with what I'm teaching the kids and what they should be learning. Yeah, I do have a lot of rainbow things in my classroom, like my lights. I covered all of my lights with some butcher paper and I just taped it up there. Now normally, yeah, this looks really cool. It's really pretty. But little did most people know, that's actually to help my students who are autistic. There's a lot of problems with autistic students and fluorescent lights. So I actually covered my fluorescent lighting with this butcher paper to make sure it's not affecting my autistic kids in a negative way. Another thing you can mention is that you have a calendar set up in your classroom. Maybe you have it on your whiteboard, maybe it's printed out and put on the wall, but if you have a calendar in your classroom, that's really important to let people know as well, because then everyone will know what's going on for that whole month. Maybe it's not just lessons in your classroom, maybe it's school activities. That way kids can stay up to date on what's going on at their campus. But maybe you can also mention that you do have your lessons on the board for the entire week. That's something I love to do. It just reminds students that they can actually write down what we're doing in class and they can write down their homework, and not just for today, but for the whole week. So if we're gonna start a unit today and we're gonna finish it on Friday and we're gonna have a test on Friday, now students know on the first day when our test is and they can write that in their planner. If you use Google Classroom, you can also tell them that you have your Google Classroom codes on the walls as well. For me, I have mine right over here, so they're right here for the students. Now this wasn't normally blocked off, but because of COVID and our setup over here, it's a whole lot different. So normally all of my Google Classroom codes are up on the board. If you're using a digital curriculum, like my school has Study Sync, if you use something like that, maybe you have directions on how to get into Study Sync or how to get into that digital curriculum. For us, it's specifically bought by our district, so we have this whole way of getting into it through the district, not just through our own account. So I have a whole setup that tells you exactly step by step how to get into it, and that's right up here along this wall, these rainbow ones. Another thing you can say for posters is thinking maps. I use a lot of posters in my classroom, but like I said, they're all going to be used for something that we're learning, something that we're using, something that's going on in the classroom, not just decorations. So although I have reference posters right up there for figurative language, I also have some posters on thinking maps. So all of these posters up here are actually for thinking maps. Whenever we are taking notes and organizing our ideas, we have these graphic organizers that we use called thinking maps. Something that's also going to be important is that you have your rules displayed on the wall. Now, this isn't something that they really focused on teaching us in the credential program. However, it is something that my student teacher taught me, is having your rules displayed on the wall. So these are my rules right here. I just got this little poster from Target for about $3, and I just put our rules up on the wall over here. I go over these every single quarter since I do get new kids every quarter, but even if I didn't, I think it's important to always reference your rules. The first one is to respect others. The second is to respect yourself. The third is to respect the rules. Number 4 is don't line up at the door. Number 5, turn in your phone. And number 6, no food or drinks. Having your rules displayed on the wall just shows everybody that you guys have routines, you guys have rules you stick to, and you have consequences as well. So as long as students are able to see that the rules are there and you go over them, they know that if they break the rules, there are consequences. And that's actually something that's really important when it comes to interviews, because if you are letting them know that you have a nice structured class, then it's going to be a whole lot easier for you as a teacher, but it's going to be a whole lot easier for admin as well, because all of the problems are being handled in your classroom instead of just going straight to administration. One thing that I always mention is my cell phone holder. I do have a little caddy that I created for cell phones. I do not let cell phones happen in my classroom. We are not working on our cell phones. Put your cell phones away. Normally, I might say that we would use our cell phones every now and then as a tool, but right now we just aren't using them. If you have, I want to say it's My Perspectives English curriculum or any other curriculum where you can use a cell phone, then I would say definitely use the cell phones in your classroom for that. However, I have come to find out that it's actually really hard to monitor student usage of cell phones, because although we are reading a book on our phone and doing our work on our phone, it's really hard to monitor whether or not you have YouTube open in another tab, because we can't put them into GoGuardian. If you don't know what GoGuardian is, it's just a website where you can monitor student activity on your classroom laptops. So for me, for my class, I have this little caddy that I created for cell phones. This is what my cell phone caddy looks like. Basically at the first 5 minutes of class or as students are walking in, they are going to come in and they're going to put their cell phone inside the pocket, and they are just going to stay up here for the entire period, and then they can grab them as they leave. So this has not been an issue for me at all. I actually really love using this and I highly suggest it. All I did was I got this clothes rack from Amazon. It was like $12, and then I got this calculator holder, and then students can put their phones inside of these. And I noticed that even the big phones will fit as long as you take the case off. So even if you have a huge phone, it'll fit if you take the case off. If it doesn't fit, then I just put it inside my desk. But this is how I attach it. I use zip ties right here. I noticed that there were those S rings, but that didn't work very well because it would push the calculator holder back like this. You can see that it's pushed back, and it would just kind of hang pushed back like that. So I did use zip ties on this. Again, this was only about $12 on Amazon, so I'll actually link this for you in the down bar if you are interested in creating something like this. So not only can this question touch on your classroom procedures and the things that you're teaching, but it can also touch on student behavior. If you are letting them know that you have a structured classroom and that students are not on their cell phones, then they know that you have a nice classroom that they aren't going to have to deal with themselves as admin. If you're interested in getting a PDF printout of not only this question and answer, but every single one that I'll be doing, go ahead and check out the down bar. I will link it for you in there. It's in my Etsy shop. I've already had quite a few sales, so thank you for that. But it has, I want to say 22 pages or more of different questions and answers. So as these videos are coming out one by one, if it's just not coming out fast enough for you, you can check that out in the down bar. Then you can just purchase the entire booklet for you to study. If you have any questions that you want me to answer as well, anything that you stumbled on or anything you're just curious about for an answer, go ahead and let me know in the comment section. I've been getting quite a few already, so I'm actually working on a booklet part 2, and it's just going to keep growing. So every single time I do get more questions, I'm going to be making more videos, and I'm going to be adding to those booklets. But like I said, if you want to get all the questions and answers already without waiting for the videos, go ahead and check it in my Etsy shop, linked down in the down bar. But that's going to be it for this video. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the comment section. Make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.